My name is Dick Rabil, and I'm a resident and I've been living in Montgomery Village for 44 years. My wife and I together raised our 5 children here, and I've been living 28 of those years in North Village. Before that, I was in the Stedwick community. For the past few years, I have been on the board, and I've seen some wonderful changes that we've made in the village. And those changes include recreational changes and other development changes. So that's been a wonderful thing for our community. Going forward, as we move towards the 2050 era, I see that we have a number of challenges ahead of us as well. And while we've made great strides in the last couple of years, some of those challenges revolve around transportation, they revolve around crime and uh, those issues that revolve around architectural standards. And so what I really hope to do in the coming year is to begin helping the team, that the team is the board and the staff, work towards ensuring this community of ours for a solid future as we approach 2050. And in addition to that, we have one of the most diverse communities in Maryland. And it's a diverse community, but it's also unique. And that uniqueness means that we would try to meet each other's needs through discussing things in an open and transparent way, addressing the challenges that we've got, using our resources wisely, and laying a solid foundation for a future lifestyle with a real vision that exemplifies the goals of all who want to make their home here. In addition to my serving on the Montgomery Village Foundation Board for the past 3 years, I've also been serving on the North Village Board of Directors since 2018. And that has been both a rewarding and challenging experience in addition to being on the regular Montgomery Village Foundation Board. But it's given me a lot of different insights into how things work. And because uniquely, I get to see things from the HOA perspective as well as from the larger perspective of the whole community. In the past, I've been on different boards, and I was a member of the Capital Business Alliance that was part of Business Networking International. I was the president of that chapter. And I've been on the American Marketing Association. I've been recognized by them for service to the community. I've also been recognized by the Smithsonian Board of Regents for special service to the Smithsonian Museum. During my working career, I've won numerous creative awards, and a lot of those awards surround working with different nonprofits, and all nonprofits, which Montgomery Village is, in a sense, a nonprofit. All of those things relate to community service. So I feel like I've had a lot of experience working in community ways throughout my career. Well, I think that one of the things that gives me a great deal of experience is that in my career working professionally, and professionally, I was a graphic designer and web designer, I had contracts with the federal government. And so in having contracts, I was in that position of having not only to respond to proposals, but also work through proposals. And that meant understanding what the requirements of proposals are all about. And part of the role that I have in the Montgomery Village Foundation Board of Directors is we have to assess a lot of these proposals that we get to make the upgrades and changes and spend the money for the budgets on the different things that come up throughout the year. And whether those things are related to the recreation, which is a huge part of our budget, or those things are related to the committees on such as the environment or architectural standards, all of those things require understanding what the requirements are, what the needs are, and how to assess when someone is presenting a proposal to us on the amounts of money and resources it's going to take to execute those particular contracts. So I think I've had a lot of experience on that, and And since I am jointly on the North Village Board as well as the Montgomery Village Foundation Board, I've gotten even more experience in seeing how these different contractors work with us and how we need to keep working with them and how they need to meet the standards that we expect of all of them. So I think it's a mutuality there and something that I take very seriously. Well, we have a number of priority issues coming up in the next few years. I think the number one issue is going to be transportation. Now, transportation has been an issue ongoing since I've been on the board and before I was on the Montgomery Village Foundation Board. But I think now that Lake Forest is going to move into this development stage, that's going to impact us severely. And we don't even understand how much it's going to impact us, but we know for fact that we're going to have an additional 1,600 people living over there, probably more than 1,600, which means there's going to be maybe 4 times that many people visiting, shopping, living in the Lake Forest part of where we live. That's going to impact our ability to get to and from the village based on where we sit. So we have got some things that we have to look at, and it's not easy to make changes. We have to depend on the county to make changes, and we have to, excuse me, we have to depend on the city of Gaithersburg as well to, work with them as far as some of those changes go. So that's my number one thing that I see as important is how we're going to navigate all of those things. And we also have Bloom Village being filled out. So that's going to also influence getting in and out of the village and around the village. The second area revolves around safety, security, and crime. And as we all know, the police in our area, the Montgomery County Police, are greatly understaffed. Now, they are working very hard to change that. And they've got some exciting new programs online, including a drone program, which we hope will help with the shortage that they've got. Nevertheless, we have a lot of challenges still. And, I see all the complaints that people have on the different online platforms regarding crime and security and their cars broken into. So this is something that, again, we have to continue to address. And I think there's some good options before us to do that. And the third thing that I think is important is always using our resources wisely. And we have a great community system of parks and recreations. And I cannot really think of another community that has what we have with the number of pools that you can go to, the number of lakes that you can attend to, the recreational programs. We've got a lot of things that we offer our residents, and being able to keep those things going, to keep them going efficiently and affordably are also critical to make this an attractive place that we'll want future residents to come to and to keep the current residents buying into. Well, one of the proposals that I think would be going a long way in helping us, particularly with the transportation issue. And it's not actually my idea, it's something that we talked about in one of the board discussions, was forming a transportation committee. Right now, we've got committees on the environment, and committees on architectural standards, and we've got committees on communication, et cetera. But I think if we develop a committee for transportation where we bring in other residents, non-board member residents, and people with expertise, perhaps engineers and other, I think anybody could really join that because everybody's got an opinion on it. I think that will help us start to think of solutions for the transportation problems that we've got and we're going to face. As an example, in that discussion, we brought up the idea of a circulator shuttle that can move through the village. Now, honestly, I don't know what the cost of that would entail, but I think if we had a shuttle that could operate in the morning and evening that would take people to and from the metro or to and from the Lake Forest Transportation Center or to and from Germantown to the school over there at Montgomery College. I mean, these are kinds of things that we have to start thinking about in order to address this problem, because just putting up more roads isn't going to work. We don't have any space for those. And putting up more parking lots isn't going to work because we don't have the funds or the spaces for that either. But we do have these issues. So the more that we can think creatively, to think through those issues and think about how we can make those work for us, I think that'll go a long ways. The second thing is just communication in general. I think that we're all working towards doing a better job of communicating with the diversity of residents that we've got. And more education is still needed, and perhaps more technology is needed. So I think that as we step into those places, we have opportunities and we have ideas. And some of those are the things that I've thought about immediately as we prepare for this next set of elections. I think it's exciting that we have a very diverse community. It's really wonderful to meet all the people from the different backgrounds. And even in where I live, my house physically, I have an international community immediately all around me. So I have people from the Middle East, I have people from the Far East, I have people from Ohio, I have people from all kinds of places that are my neighbors. And so I understand and experience their emotional needs as I interact with them. Now, one of the things I think that is a challenge is being able to educate them on how the HOAs actually work. And I think that it's very confusing at times to them. What is the difference between the HOA's responsibility and what is the Montgomery Village Foundation responsibility and what is the county responsibility? And these things are very confusing to our residents because we don't live in a typical community. And so the more that we can educate people, bring them together, say in some of the different forums that we've had. I know we have a welcoming event for new people, and we're going to have more new people with the Bloom Village coming on. And I hope that we can get online very soon. I know we've talked about this, is getting a text messaging communication platform going where we can immediately reach out to people when something changes, such as this recent snow event that we had, where we really wanted to be able to tell people, okay, here's what's going on as far as snow removal. Here's what's going on as far as trash changes. Here's what's going on as far as recycling changes. And they're still happening even now as I speak. The changes are there. And there are times when I really wish I could just press a button and say, here's what the latest is, so that people wouldn't be confused about what day they're going to put out their trash or recycling. So that's just one small example. But I think as we continue to grow and we continue to evolve as a community, we also want to draw those people in so that they're going to want to participate on the boards. They're going to want to participate in how we make decisions, and they're going to want to participate in how we use our resources to make this the community that they're really proud of. The other thing I'll add on this, when I've done the July 4th event the last few years, it's really exciting to see all these different faces and all these different people and all these different nationalities come together at the Apple Ridge Park, and just to see their faces glow and smile, and it says they really love being here, and we want them to enjoy it even more. Well, first of all, the environmental policy is it's not only wonderful to have the policy, it's a privilege to have the policy, and it's a privilege to have the type of environment where we actually have to work at this very hard to keep this, the environment, the nature, and our coexistent with the animals and wildlife and species in place. Now, I've had the privilege of being on the Committee for the Environment for the past few months, and I've gotten to know a number of the people there, and I see how excited they are, passionate they are about maintaining the look of the community and the gardens and the different parks, and also how much concerned they are for the wildlife. Now, on a personal note, my wife and I try to walk the parks every day if we can. Our favorite park is Kaufman Park. It's near us, but it's also a beautiful park, and we love going there. We love to see. We love to try and choose. Okay, what bird was that? You remember what bird that was? What tree was that? And it's a great park because they've actually named the trees out there. And so I think we have got resources and we've got things in place right now that no other community has. And some of that is being challenged we're challenged to maintain it because we've had construction and we see a lot of wildlife having to shift their where they've been located. But I know that this is something that we have to continually pay attention to because it's so vital to what makes us unique. And as I said before earlier in this video, no other community has these kinds of things. I don't think you can go and see all the kinds of wildlife that we have in any other place. And I've taken, and personally, I've taken hundreds of pictures of the blue herons down at North Creek. And I've seen them mating. I've got some great photographs. I love and enjoy taking those photos. So I'm committed to this whole area of the environment. And, you know, I'm continually trying to think, okay, how can we make this better? And I think one of the things that makes it better is, first of all, protecting what we've got. And when that comes to the subject of M83, which could divide our community and could potentially destroy some of the landscape that we have, I want to make sure that we have stood fast in protecting what we've got and continuing to build on what we already have. I think this question is one of the hardest to answer because you have to stop and say, well, what is that future that we can have? And it's partially based on the past. I remember when we had different types of amenities in the village that were really very strongly community oriented. We had a putt-putt golf course and we had a movie theaters and things like that. And would I like to see some of those things back again? I absolutely would. But the reality is that we have to work with what we've got. Now, I think an example of something that's forward-looking that we're doing in the community is redoing the Steadwick Pools area as an example. And we're using that as a model to say, here's a structure now that was 60 years old, and we're taking that structure and we're trying to update it and making it into something that's going to be attractive for future residents. Because when it comes down to it, people really do enjoy having those kinds of amenities, such as recreation, such as being able to use the pools on a longer term basis than they have been. And I think continuing to look at all the different facilities that we've got and saying, okay, what can we do here? What can we do there to make these things more available to the people, to the different residents? We just recently upgraded Hurley Park. I don't know how many people know about that, but that's been a great thing to be able to upgrade some of these places because now we can draw people in and say, okay, here's something else that you can do as an activity. The Parks and Recreation really does a great job. And sometimes I think sometimes we don't appreciate it as much as we possibly could. There's a lot of people who do appreciate it, but I would really like to see even more people get involved in that and take it and take hold of it and say, well, just as great. Again, the transportation is going to be critical to how the future of our community goes. And I really see that as kind of a key element. And if we can put some of those parts together, then in 20, 25 years from now, people will say, wow, they really were able to preserve and protect and maintain what they started with, and they're building on that. And now we've got something to really be proud of in the village. I think the last thing I would love to see, if I was really future dreaming, I would love to see a great restaurant in the village. And you know, we got a Starbucks, and that was like, wow, we got a Starbucks, and that really set us ahead of where we were by miles. But now I'd like to see us have a restaurant that I'm thinking of a sit-down variety type of restaurant We've got some new restaurants that have come in, but they're a little more on the fast food side of the equation. I'd like to see us have a fine dining experience, but that's really future driven, future dreaming driven. But those are the kinds of things I'd like to see us have. And so that, this is really a place that people want to stay in and really participate in, and they don't have to go far to enjoy it. I would like to thank everyone who has been working so diligently and so hard to make the village what it is today. And I want to thank all the people who are on the staff. I want to thank all the people on the different boards. And I want to thank all the people in the different committees that I've been a part of. They're very integral into making this community a community. And I would also like to encourage everyone to please vote. When you get those things in the mail, sit down right away, think about it, watch the videos, come to the meetings and ask your questions. But please do vote. And it's important that we hear from you and hear from every one of you, because this is your community. It's not my community. It's not the other people running for office's community. It's all of our community. So it's very important that you participate, and we believe in that participation.